Hello, everybody. Hello. It is so nice. It is such a pleasure to welcome here today to say good afternoon to you. And first of all, we really want to thank you, because you took the time to be here. And this is all because we share the same dream, which is to improve our children's education now, right? Starting as today. My name is Francisca Kelly. I'm the director at Buku Education, and today we are going to have our first session with Joaquin Triandafilide. I'm going to introduce him in a couple of seconds. We are very happy to be hosting this first event for Latin American teachers. Of course, we will have our second event next year. And we want to say welcome to all those teachers from Chile, of course, from Argentina, from the United States, from Australia, from Puerto Rico, and from Colombia. Thank you for being here. We're going to have an amazing 2 days of learning together, building community. So let's begin, right? Okay, as I said before, today's session will be in charge of Joaquin Triandafilide and myself. Let me introduce Joaquin for the people who don't know him yet. Joaquin Triandafilide is an English teacher. He has a master's degree in linguistics, and he is a neuroeducator. He's a teacher trainer, and also he devotes his time to brain-friendly approaches and to teach them and how to apply them, etc. And of course, he's the director of the ACHNAP, Asociación Chilena de Neuroaprendizaje. Welcome, Joaquin.
Hey, Francisca, and hello, everybody. Well, you've already introduced everybody, so I just want to add a couple of words. I'm also very excited to be sharing the plateau with Francisca Kelly. I think it's going to be an amazing experience. And well, with the ACHNAP, with Comunidad Neuroeducas, we've been organizing a couple of events in the recent past, but this is probably the first ever brain-based teaching to children event that is mainly devoted to how to teach a second language while taking care of the brain, okay? And as Francisca just mentioned, having a group of speakers, people coming from, there will be someone speaking who's living in the States. We'll have Janina Jimenez today, and we'll also have Cynthia Hurtado. Okay, she's a Venezuelan, and I'll probably introduce her later. But just for you to remember, after this first session, which takes until 3:15, from 3:30 to 4:45, we'll be having Cynthia Hurtado with social, emotional, and behavioral difficulties in class. And then, last but not least, we'll be having Janina Jimenez from 5 until 6:15 with the virtuous cycle of learning in online mode. Okay, so it's an exciting first day of the event. And I'd like to say a few words about Francisca, my co-speaker today. Francisca is an English teacher with more than 10 years of experience. She has lived in several countries like the US and Singapore. That's very exciting to know. She has an MA in linguistics, and she's an educational consultant for the private and state sector, a collaborator for the SEDUC schools in Chile, a teacher trainer, a certified coach on positive discipline. Man, what a bio. And the founding director and main writer of Buku Education. You should know she's the author of more than 20 books for kids for learning English as a second language, with the main focus in Latin America. Okay, so having said that, should we get started? What do you say, Francisca?
Of course, let's go.
All right, great, great. Yeah, I was just checking to see if we have, well, more than 60 people have enrolled for the event. And we know, I mean, some people are still connecting, and we hope they arrive at one point. But for you should know that in case someone is late to the event, every person who's been enrolled will have the chance through their access codes to access the Moodle, the learning platform, in order for you to review, revisit the videos of the conferences for the next 30 days. Okay, so if you know somebody who's still not in the room, bear in mind they'll be able to check the videos afterwards. And this is always good because we teachers like to see the material once and again and revisit it. Also, the presentations, the PowerPoint slides we'll be sharing today, remember they will also be ready for you at the Moodle learning platform. Okay, so I think we're ready to get started. I will sometimes be speaking some Spanish because our assistants, they are of great help, but they do not speak English. So, Brauli, si eres tan amable, yo necesito compartir pantalla a partir de este minuto. Thank you very much. And so, would like to start, as I said before. I hope you can see my presentation there. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So our presentation, this is the first time ever, and that makes us really anxious that Francisca and I are presenting together. We'll be dealing with the emotional and cognitive tools for well-being. Okay. So I'd like to start by inviting you to play a little game. If you can watch look at your screen right now and see, I want you to think for a minute, uh, think about a house with different rooms, okay? And so my question is, if you could choose to be for one day, or maybe less, 1 hour, one room or a piece of furniture within that house, which room, which piece of furniture would you choose? And feel free to think for 1 minute. I'll say that again. Think of a house. If you could choose one room or a piece of furniture, and you would become that room or that piece of furniture, which would you choose and why? Okay. Once you are ready, please feel free to share through the chat. Okay, feel free to choose an answer in the chat. Who would you be? Okay, so I hope you can answer so I can have some feedback. All right, Natalia, the bed. All right, probably she's tired at this time of the day, time of the week. Alejandra, okay, we have several answers already. Alejandra, she would choose the one with the open window, lovely. Claudia says, I could choose my bedroom with my bed. Eileen, the sofa. Maria Alejandra, the kitchen. Solange, an armchair to hug. Macarena, the kitchen. I'd be the living room, says Madeleine Zamora. All right. Eliana, she would be the living room. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So you know what? As you keep sharing in the chat, feel free to say what how you would solve this exercise, who you would be. Let me say a few words about this. If as I said before, this is a game many times played by psychologists, okay? Psychologists would probably say that your option, the option you chose, has a lot to do with your personality, okay? But you know what an educational neuroscientist would say? That this is more connected to a deeper idea, and that is the self-concept, okay? And that's something I would like to share with you in the next few minutes before Francisca comes in with practical ideas on how to impact the self-concept in a child. This is growth mindset, what growth mindset has all about to do with it, okay? So self-concept is, or the self-concept describes the way we view ourselves in the world, okay? My actions, and then the way others see me, and then the way people react to me, okay? And then the way I see myself. And then this is like a recursive circle. This is self-concept, okay? Now, something interesting here, the way you conceptualize yourself as a good singer. We might have a good singer or good singers in this room today. Or if you consider yourself to be an average language learner or an average mathematics learner, that all has to do, and there's a long list of other descriptions that you could probably recall about yourself, okay? This is the self-concept. Now, the total of all that is in our memory, okay, forms the basis of this self-concept. And you can see now how I've included this circle, okay? Because what happens at the end of the day with a child and with an adult is that we end up constructing our idea of the world around us based on our self-concept, and vice versa. The self-concept impacts our idea of the world around us, okay? Now, the total construct of how we see the world and ourselves is what we call the cognitive belief system, okay? So there are three important or key elements here: my self-concept, the world in which I exist, and then all of that, my cognitive belief system. You and I, the child we are educating, the child we're teaching, will move around in the world based on the concept they have of the world around and the self-concept. Very powerful ideas, okay? So after all, we move around based on our beliefs, okay, about others and ourselves. Where is self-esteem here? Why haven't you mentioned it before, Joaquin? Well, basically we can say that self-esteem is one element out of three, okay? The self-concept is constructed based on self-esteem, how much I care about myself, how much I love myself, my self-image, and the ideal self, three in one, okay? So self-concept is what neuroscience says is of a high impact in a person's life, okay? And that's good news. You know why? Because as teachers, as parents, we may mainly influence self-concept more than self-esteem, okay? Once I impact the idea a person has of his or himself, then that person will start changing self-esteem on his own, on her own, okay? How do we build self-concept? Okay, this is another question I bring today. I have several questions to share here. How do we build self-concept? Well, the self-concept, as I said before, is, look at this graph I'm showing you. I try to be as simple as possible. I'm basing this part of my presentation on David Souza's chart of how the human brain processes information. I've mentioned already self-concept. Now notice long-term storage has a lot to do here, okay? This is more or less the way we construct memories, okay? How we develop an idea of the world around us, and then our self-image, okay, have a lot to do with our permanent intaking information and then retrieving information, okay? That's how we construct memories. And there is one memory that is not one memory in particular, but one type of memory, which is autobiographical memory. Yes, your autobiography, the way I construct my own history, my own story, that makes it's the basis for self-concept. Okay, so long-term memory has a lot to do with this. Self-concept, of course, is part of this graph at the top. And then at the bottom, my beliefs, my personal beliefs, what I believe about my family, what I believe they think of me, okay? The way I feel my friends accept me or not, the way I become part of a bigger group, a larger group, okay? That is all very, very important. Now, how do we build self-concept? Our self-concept is shaped by our past experiences. Can you see that in the graph I'm showing you now? And I'd like to put a double mark there. Past experiences, what the experiences I live through every day are crucial, fundamental to the construction of my self-concept. What's the good news here? Can you see the green broken lines? Why do you think I've written some of those in red and it's a continuous line, while the other two are broken green lines? Because both my beliefs and my self-concept I can always modify. And that's good news for someone who's educating. If we could not possibly have a child modify their beliefs or their self-concept, why on earth would we be devoting our lives to teaching? Yes, human beings, the human brain can be modified, okay? Actually, it modifies itself, but because of the capacity to change, it's that we actually want to discuss this in education. All right. Now, how do we build self-concept now within the classroom? Okay, this is an interesting question. Well, some of our experiences, as we see the teacher and the student, either on site or online, some of our experiences, such as passing a difficult test, or getting recognition for being able to read at the pace the teacher expects, may raise our self-concept temporarily. That's why that green arrow there. Other experiences, such as receiving a reprimand or failing to accomplish a task, may lower our self-concept temporarily. That's why the red arrow pointing down. If the experiences happen once and again, then they will become part of a real experience with the world. This consolidates as part of what we believe about the things that happen to us, our beliefs. This will also alter what we think of our worlds. Okay, so this is where education becomes fundamental in the construction a child makes of the way she or he sees at himself. Okay, how does now experience impact the brain? This is another important question. And Francisca, let me know how I'm doing with time. I try to be as brief and to the point as possible here.
We have about 8 minutes.
Great, 8 minutes?
Yeah.
Great, okay, I'll go for that. So how does experience impact the brain? Well, we may wonder about this in the long run. We should know that most experiences produce strong emotional reactions in the brain. Okay, I've included here the typical graph of the brain. We know the information processing is much more complex than this, but we can think of the emotional processing areas of the brain, okay? And we can think of the neocortex or rational processing area of the brain. Both of them are tightly connected, okay? As I was saying, there's this structure which is here, like in orange, okay? This structure here and this other structure in green, particularly this one in green. This is what we call the amygdala, okay? So most experiences produce strong emotional reactions in the brain's amygdala, which is part of the emotional system. Now, this area is very much connected with the cognitive area, okay? Up here, that grayish, whitish matter, okay? It's the cognitive area. And actually, the two areas are not really separated, like in the drawing. So then the emotional experience and the cognitive event get bound together every time it happens, okay? The emotional cues are so strong, the child often re-experiences the original emotion each time we recall the event, okay? And I know you can think of personal experiences you've been through where you are just remembering, recalling a specific event in your lives, and then the emotions come back to you. And that's why there are certain elements Janina Jimenez is going to cover later today that are crucial. Okay, these are all the talks are very much connected. Okay, and also Francisca in a few minutes is going to show you how we can help the child and help ourselves to construct a positive self-concept. Okay, now once again, how does experience impact learning? Remember, our memory uses past experiences. I want to make this red circle to memory and past experiences, okay? Notice something here. If a child is in a new learning situation and past experience signals that prior encounters with this information were successful, like the student having a successful experience, then the information is very likely to pass along to long-term memory, okay? But if past experience produced failure, like the student feeling a loser sometimes, then the brain is likely to block the incoming data, just as Venetian blinds are closed to block light, okay? So the learner resists being part of a learning experience that he or she doesn't want to be in and resorts to some other activity, like being distracted or just, playing with an eraser or doing something else, some other activity, internal or external, to avoid being in that specific situation. In effect, the learner's self-concept is in control, okay? And when a curriculum concept struggles with an emotion, the emotion almost always wins, okay? This is something important to remember. I'll say that again. When a curriculum concept struggles with an emotion, the emotion almost always wins, okay? Now, how can we approach the brain to empower self-concept? Strong emotional reactions are encoded and stored with the cognitive event, as we said before. Emotions process and react first whenever a similar negative or positive experience is taking place again. But it is the rational system, okay? We said that the emotional system impacts a lot, but it is the rational system, that neocortex you can see in the graph, okay, in the chart. It's the rational system that can change, override, and become in control of the emotions. We have a number of mental powers here, okay? And that makes a distinction between the human brain and other species. We have a number of mental powers called executive functioning skills, okay? And they are located in the frontal lobes, as I'm showing you in the graph. Okay, these powers, these mental powers, can help us, as I said, overcome, moderate, or alter bad experiences. Can a child overcome the feelings of a bad experience? Yes, they can. Moved from the rational part of the brain. Okay, the main tool a parent, a teacher, or a caregiver can use, even the student, okay, the main tool that we have is called verbal language. Yes, as you hear it, verbal language. The human brain is designed so that encouragement, guidance, and support given in the form of verbal language can help a child empower or destroy his or her own self-concept. How are you? How am I? How are we using verbal language today in whatever the context you are teaching or working? Whatever the child, and that's why I'm putting that ear there, like that person is constructing self-concept from what he or she hears. Okay, verbal language is so powerful. So I've got to stop here, but before I finish, I'll just add this, which I shared last July with Cambridge, Brazil. Please bear in mind, always start teaching with the heart in mind, okay? Because whatever we do, whatever we teach, the language we choose has a lot of impact on the emotional brain, on the rational part, and most importantly, on the self concept, okay? All right, so from here, I'll leave you with Francisca, who'll be
With
sharing
me.
her part.
Yes, that's right. All right. I want to remind everyone that um, if you have any questions, you can write them on the chat, and we will leave a couple of minutes at the end of today's session to answer them. Okay? That's about questions. Now, Joaquin, wow, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to listen to you and to hear what you have to say about the latest studies on neuroscience, because they help us so much as teachers. And now, guys, my job on today's presentation is to see how all these amazing content that Joaquin just shared with us, how can we take it into our lesson tomorrow, or even this afternoon if you have any? So,
Francisca,
yeah,
sorry, just a reminder, you're not sharing you're not with your camera on.
I'm not with my camera on. Okay,
You need
I
to
let
turn
me
it
see
on.
how
You'll
can,
be the
because
face now. You'll be the
you
face
see
now.
now, right?
Great. Now it's working.
I have a question. Do you see me and my presentation?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Yes.
And now do you see me and my presentation?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Very correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joaquin. So, how can we have, how can we take all the content that Joaquin just shared with us and apply it? We're going to start with this exercise. It's called motivation versus praising. Now, everybody, if you could please get your pen or pencil and your piece of paper or your notebook so we can get started. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds so you have your paper and your pencil ready. All right. Now, please imagine, this is a role play situation. Imagine you're my student and I'm your teacher. I'm going to tell you a couple of phrases, and on your piece of paper, you're going to answer those questions in the green bubble, in the green circle. How do you feel is the first question. So how, everything I say to you, I'm the teacher, you're the student, how does it make you feel? What do you think about what I'm saying to you? And what would you do in the future after hearing everything I have said to you? You can jot down your thoughts. All right, we're going to start with the role play. I am the teacher. You're my student. 1, 2, 3, action. Oh, you're so beautiful. That's right, you are very smart. Wow, you're an intelligent girl. Or, wow, you're such an intelligent boy. Ooh, your drawing is amazing. Aw, you're an excellent student. Great job, you always do so well. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of more seconds so you can continue writing your thoughts on your piece of paper. And please now, in the chat, share some of these thoughts. How did you feel? What did you think? What would you do in the future after hearing these phrases? I will be waiting in the chat so we can have a conversation. Okay, Cynthia feels motivated and loved, good and proud, happy, relaxed, good about myself. Thank you. Thank you for participating. Oh, there's something very interesting right here. Daniela says, I felt great, but at the same time, I felt pressure. All right, we're going to talk about that. I felt good, important, confident, proud about myself, engaged, appreciated, valuable, important. Okay. I feel great, says Maria Fernanda, but thinking that there is no place for mistakes. So interesting. Good about myself because the phrases are so motivating. I would use these phrases or similar with my students. That's right, I used to do the same thing. Very motivated and enthusiastic. Thank you, Francisca, and thank you everyone for participating. All right, amazing answers in the chat. Why? Let's see. I'm going to go to the next slide. Let's see. What I just presented to you, all these phrases I told you, belonged to praising. So that's correct. It's totally normal that you felt proud, that you felt happy, that you felt honored to receive all this praising from your teacher. And also, it is totally normal for those people who said, I felt good, but I felt pressured. Why pressured, you may ask? Well, because those phrases were praising you only about the results. Do you see that? I was just saying, you are beautiful, you are smart. What did you do actually to be beautiful and smart? Nothing. You were born beautiful and you were born smart. There was no effort shown in this exercise, right? So you feel the pressure to continue being smart and continue being beautiful so you can still have this praising from your teacher. When I say you're an intelligent girl or boy, your drawing is amazing, you're an excellent student, I'm focusing on results. So it's totally normal, you feel great, but also you may feel pressured, right? And as somebody else said, oh, I feel there's no room for mistakes here. That's totally right. So I have these pictures. I have these pictures, a picture of a queen and a picture of a king, or a princess and a prince. Because praising, these would be examples of praising. Praising would make our little children, our little boys and our little girls feel like queens and princes and kings and feel that they deserve all these praising just by taking a look at the results. But actually, what we want with growth mindset is for children to maybe, okay, we can focus on the results, but also let's focus in the process, right? So let's go with the second part of this exercise. I have now a new set of phrases. Again, please take your pencil and a pen, and you will answer the same questions you see in the green bubble. How do you feel? What do you think? And what would you do in the future? Now, role play again. So I'm your teacher, you're my student. 1, 2, 3, action. Congratulations for all your effort. You are improving. Wow, your pronunciation is getting better. Could you tell me more about your drawing? You figured it out. I see that you're working hard. Closure. All right. Let's go to the chat again, please, and write your thoughts so I can have a bit of feedback on what you felt. All right. I feel my effort was taken into account, even if I made a little improvement. Amazing. It makes me feel good and positive. Thank you, Claudia. I think I'm a good student and I can do better. Thank you, Cynthia. I feel passionate and happy. Thank you, Renato. Maria Fernanda, first I felt that the teacher was more interested in me, and second, I feel like I was going on the right path. Wow, that gives you goosebumps. Amazing, amazing you felt that. My teacher appreciates my work. That's right, my work, what I do, my effort. I feel good and I'll try my best. Even better, growth mindset, right? Not how I look, not how intelligent I might appear, but my effort, my actual work. Karin, I felt motivated to try even harder. That's right, right? Remember to send me, that's Joaquin. Yes, if you have any questions, you can send him the questions, okay? It makes me feel good, motivated, connected. Thank you, thank you. My teacher knows me. I'm able to learn every day more things and skills. Amazing. Thank you so, so much. So these phrases I just said to you as my students, these are motivational phrases. And the big difference between motivation and praising is that all these motivation phrases will motivate you to do better, motivate you to focus on your effort and not on always and just the result, okay? So motivation versus praising was the name of this activity. If anybody would like to share what you learned from this activity, although I think it's pretty clear, right? It's pretty clear that the big difference between motivating children and praising children. Language is power, says Claudia. Everything that Joaquin just mentioned, right? Language is the way we can change previous conceptions, the previous beliefs that the child has in his or her mind. So just, I have included some of the closure phrases I have received from other teachers in the past, and they are these. Motivation will make your students feel capable, just like you said. Students who are praised often eventually need the adults' approval for everything they do. So this is the typical child or student that goes to you, Miss, do you like it? But look at this. But what do you think about this? Is my drawing beautiful? But is this okay? And those students who eventually, and I mean, normally and currently need your approval, it's very probable that they have received so much praising that they are used to this and they need it, okay? So language for self-concept is power, as Joaquin mentioned. So what we can do with our words to motivate them and focus on their process and on their effort is great if we want them to have this cognitive belief of their well, not just self-esteem, but also their self-concept, as Joaquin said. All right. Okay. Next part of how we can take this information down to our lessons. I'm going to tell you a very short story. I like storytelling, so I couldn't leave out an opportunity to tell you a story. And this story's title is The Power of Not Yet. And here we have a boy. His name is Matthew. And in the first picture, what happened is that I was a teacher. I was a new teacher at the school. And as I entered the room, I saw this very cute boy and I started talking to him. Hello, Matthew. Hello, teacher. What's your name? My name is Matthew. Oh, my name is Francisca. Matthew, do you know how to read? No. Oh, can you write? No. Do you know how to speak English? Do you understand what I'm saying? No. Well, it doesn't matter. You probably are a very good and fast runner. No. And all these questions were making Matthew so sad and frustrated because I was just asking him affirmative questions of things I thought he should be able to do, right? And then there is a beautiful phrase that will change our mindsets and our children's mindsets. And it's the power of not yet. So, me as a teacher, I teach them, all right, when you don't know something, you can say not yet. And we are developing an awareness of children, okay, I don't know how to do that now. It's not a problem. I don't know it yet. I could learn if I wanted to. Or I will learn if I work with my peers, with the other students, if I pay attention in class, if we work together collaboratively. So this boy, Matthew, when he discovered the magic of the phrase not yet, was much, much happier because he knew that his abilities did not have a limit. He could learn. It's just that he doesn't know it now, but he can learn. So the use of not yet is an amazing opportunity for all of you teachers who are working actually and currently with your students, because we will make them aware of how positive it could be not knowing something now. Not yet, but I could learn it later, or I'm going to learn it next year, or I'm going to learn it tomorrow, all right? The power of not yet. So here we see the same boy, Matthew, before today, before we knew the power of not yet, he might have felt a bit sad, but after today, guys, we're going to put this into practice. Matthew's going to be happy because he knows the power, and we as teachers know the power of not yet. And now we can go more into exactly what Carol Dweck, the author of Growth Mindset, has taught us as teachers. So first, there are some very important things. Growth mindset is for everyone. What? Francisca, like really everyone could have a growth mindset? Yes, anybody can develop growth mindset. So what this means, if I could say it in a very short phrase, it is just knowing that your abilities, your skills can be developed, okay? I don't think that I'm either good or bad at English. I believe that what I know or my abilities now about learning English can improve if I set my mind to do so. And whatever I'm interested in, intrinsic motivation is a very powerful motivation, because whatever is interesting to me will make it so much easier to develop skills and to learn in a very efficient way. So that's why there's always this difficult but amazing task for teachers of how can I make this content, this curriculum, interesting for my students? Because if I make them feel interested and motivated, they will have the growth mindset to learn abilities, even if it could be difficult for them, okay? Now, also something important, people with growth mindset use mistakes and problems to become better, to learn from mistakes. And the last but not least, Carol Dweck said, quote, "The danger of praising your child." Closure of quotes. So this is what we just saw. If we praise and say, beautiful job, good job, great boy, beautiful boy, excellent girl, we're just praising on results. And growth mindset needs to focus on the process, on the effort we put into things, so we know what to change or what to do to learn more and to improve our skills, okay? Now, 4 practical tips. How can we apply growth mindset with our students? Number 1, motivate peer support. It has been already shown by neuroscientific studies that we learn best from our peers, not just listening all the time to our teachers, not listening all the time to adults, but having conversations and listening and working with our peers. The same with teachers. That's why it's so important that we build community with teachers, because we're going to learn so much from each other, okay? So motivate peer support in class. Number 2, of course, as everything in positive discipline, set the example. What does this mean, set the example? Well, if you want your students to take mistakes as amazing opportunities for learning, you should model this. How? When you make a mistake, you should set the example that you're not embarrassed about your mistake, that you don't want to hide your mistake. You want to show your mistake because you will show children what you learned from your mistake. Okay, so you have to set the example. Whatever we want our children to develop, we have to model first. We have to set the example first. Number 3, very related to number 2, verbalize a growth mindset point of view. So if I make a mistake and I come to class and I say, okay, so Maria, you have this mark here, and Felipe, you have this other mark here. No, teacher, that's incorrect. Oh, that's right. I made a mistake. Guys, you know why I made this mistake? Because I was not concentrating enough. I need to focus more. I'm going to leave this behind and I'm going to focus on these notes. And you can verbalize what your mind, what your brain is actually doing, the decisions you're making to make that mistake an amazing opportunity for learning. So you verbalize to students what you're going through. So you're setting a great example on how we are not going to laugh about mistakes. Sometimes they could be funny, and that's okay. We can have a good laugh. Of course, if the person who made the mistake is not happy with everyone laughing, we stop that behavior. Of course, respect and dignity for all before everything else. And then we verbalize and we set this model, set this example on how we can improve and learn from our mistakes. And there's a beautiful, beautiful surprise. And number 4 is that you can include posters in your lessons. This is very powerful because you can have beautiful posters that will catch your students' attention. They will want to read or want to see what is on there. And with all the material, I'm also going to send some beautiful posters with growth mindset tips for children and also for teachers. Things that I'm going to show you in a couple of slides more what they look like, but they will be inspirational and also with some tips on what to do. All right. Now, before I show you that, I think it's obvious to you now how our words matter. When Joaquin started talking about all these memories that we have in our long-term memory and how emotions are so important when we remember something about the past, and how our cognition is totally linked to our emotions, all those things that Joaquin said, we know now how important language is. So this means that our words as teachers matter so, so much. We have a lot of power in front of our students, and sometimes we forget about this. So we have to bear this in mind. Our words matter. Now, tips for the use of our words. Instead of saying good job all the time, which is something that we might say often, right? Good job, teacher, look at this. Good job, teacher, I got a 7. A 7 is 100% on the test in Chile. Good job, teacher, I got an A. Good job. This is something that we usually say a lot, right? Good job. Instead of saying good job, which would be giving positive feedback to students, but not really focusing on the effort or on the process that might have gone on with the students. Here are some tips. Instead of saying good job in the context of when students do well on tests, we can say, example number 1, you worked really hard and it paid off. So I'm giving a positive feedback, and because I'm saying it paid off, but I'm also focusing on the effort. You worked really hard, okay? Example number 2, you answered all the questions correctly. How does that make you feel? So again, what am I doing here? I'm giving positive feedback. It's actually very, very objective. I'm saying you answered all the questions correctly. Very objective, right? And then I'm linking it to emotions. How does that make you feel? The student might answer, it makes me feel proud. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel motivated. There are varied and limitless options of how a child might be feeling answering all the questions correctly. The important thing is that you as a teacher are giving him or her the chance to actually see for themselves how they feel about this and not feeling as the teacher says you should feel. You should be happy you answered all the questions correctly. No, let's have them see, okay, let's give them autonomy. How does that make you feel? What is so powerful about this example? I'm being objective about what happened. You answered all the questions correctly. I'm linking it to emotions, as I said before. How does that make you feel? And also, I am developing in the child autonomy. I'm not saying what you should feel or what you should do. I'm asking you. So all this helps develop autonomy, self-esteem, and self-concept, as Joaquin mentioned in the first part of this presentation. Now, second set of examples. Instead of saying good job when students show off their work, which means obviously that they are proud of their work because they are showing it off, we can say, number 1, wow, how did you do that? So the wow is positive, but then I have this question which brings him or her back to the process. How did you do that? Oh, well, I actually thought of putting this and this together, and then I colored with this, but then I used glue and not tape, and so I had this result. Wow, amazing. And again, with this question, you're helping the students go back to the process of what he or she did, what decisions he or she made were great, so they could remember them, go back to them. And with this question, you're helping them grow, okay? Helping them also be aware of how they are learning and what things are useful and what things they could repeat the next time, okay? So it's very, very powerful. And the last one, that looks like it took a lot of effort, all right? So again, it is positive feedback, but then I'm going back, not only focusing on the result, going back to effort, okay? You put a lot of effort, you worked hard maybe, and as this question, I mean, this phrase is judgmental. Since I'm the judge, I say it looks like it took a lot of effort. Maybe it didn't take a lot of effort. Still, I'm not saying that's wonderful. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it looks like it took a lot of effort. And if it didn't, well, maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I'm very good at this. But I'm not praising. I'm motivating about the result. I'm motivating, wow, this looks Good, right? Probably there was a lot of effort. So again, praising, just to give closure to this idea, praising would be focusing only on results. For example, you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you're smart, you always do well, your test is excellent, your homework is great, etc. Versus motivational language, okay? Motivation such as you worked really hard, that looks like a lot of effort. Um, wow, how do you feel? Wow, how did you do that? And questions to connect with your students, all right? Now, here I have a couple of examples of some of the posters that you will get. I'm so happy because as a teacher, I always been very grateful of material I could actually just print and use with my students. So these are some examples of inspirational posters, like the ones you're going to receive with growth mindset for children, for the lesson, for the classroom, sorry, for the classroom, for students, or for you as teachers. You will use them however you want, okay? All right. Thank you so much. We have reached the end of the presentation, and now we have time for questions. Joaquin, you're in
Yeah.
charge of questions in this
Yep.
session. Yes.
There are three questions. I'll be reading them out, and the two of us should be taking turns and probably decide who will be answering, right? Yeah, there are three questions. And the first one by Eliana Perez. This is the question. I really like the concept of mental powers. How can I work with my students the concept? If you allow me, I'd like to take that one.
Great.
Yeah. All right. And so this is then Eliana, and for those of you who wondered about mental powers, basically this refers to what we have called for many years executive functioning skills. Executive functioning skills. Okay, in Spanish, funciones ejecutivas. With the difference that for today I said I'd like to use a more digestible type of word, and so I went for mental powers. But it's still the same. We've got the mental powers, whatever you call it. Now, Eliana, it's an interesting question. It's something most teachers have not been trained in our, and I include myself, we were not trained in our undergrad studies in order to train executive functioning skills with our students, okay? So 2 or 3 characteristics that we should probably focus on or pinpoint about executive functioning skills or mental powers. When you train one of them, the rest of the executive functioning skills will be affected. So the moment, for example, and I want to identify several executive functioning skills here, the possibility or the mental capacity to plan, that's one of the executive functioning skills, okay? The possibility to control your time, organize your time, set up a plan. Metacognition, which has to do with asking yourself about what you're doing or how you're behaving or what you plan to do in the future, etc. That's metacognition. Okay, that's to mention a few. I've mentioned the capacity to plan, the capacity to use your time or in an organized way. And then I should say language, verbal language, okay? The capacity to produce language, the capacity to understand language. And why am I saying this? Well, sometimes we teachers take these capacities for granted, but they should not be taken for granted. They need training. And I think language teachers can see this clearly with verbal language. Verbal language requires training. Okay, 2 or 3 ideas on how to train this. One, model it. We need to model the use of language. Now that a group of us are here that are devoting our energy to training other people to learn another language, a second language, the way you model the use of the second language is crucial. Okay, all functioning skills or executive functioning skills are trained the same way, by modeling. I guess you can see what I mean. If I'm trying to teach my students how to organize their time, if I'm trying to teach them metacognition, the first way to do it is by showing it in your own behavior. Okay, if it applies to language, it also applies to the other executive functioning skills. Then the second point I should mention is that there are times in a lifespan when teaching or training these executive functioning skills is crucial. And there are 2 periods in life that are particularly crucial. The first one goes from 0 to 7. From 0 to 7 in a life existence. Okay, that time is of a high impact. And the second period is from 0 to 14. Okay, apparently, well, not apparently, there's proof, there's evidence that in those 2 periods of life, 0 to 7 and then 7 to 14, this is like biologically predisposition or predisposed to better learn. Okay, to learn faster, if we can say it. All right. I think I've answered the question with giving a couple of. Oh, what I meant by metacognition is the capacity to ask yourself, Karin, to ask yourself about your behavior, your feelings, your life in general. Okay? Think, for example, after today's session, Karin, if you say, okay, did I enjoy the conference? Which conference or which session did I take most advantage of? How am I going to get better ready for tomorrow's session? Is there anything else I can do to take advantage of the experience in the conference? All questions that you can ask yourself as you finish today's session. And that is using your mental power of metacognition. Question 2, this can probably go for you, Maria Francisca. How can you boost a growth mindset on teenagers? I'm a head teacher of a 9th grade, and sometimes they are way too difficult in terms of understanding mistakes are all right. But then that we can do things again and improve in time. Okay, sometimes I feel they are not open to socializing with their peers to be helped, for example. Okay, this is by Claudia Albuco.
Amazing question. And I totally understand you because I used to work with teenagers and I know what it's like. Also, I have amazing news. I applied some of these positive discipline ideas and I applied this motivation versus praising, and it worked with my teenagers, specifically I had 8th grade and high school. Now, what worked really, really well? It's a magic word, connection. Okay, and I'm going to go into this. As a teacher, our job, one of our jobs, because we have to have so many things in our heads, right? One of our jobs is to really connect with our students. What does this connection mean? It means that students should feel important, number 1, and that they belong, number 2. So how do we do this? It could be having very short conversations in recess time, or maybe while the rest of the room is working, and you ask something that lets them know that you care about them. How's your grandmother? I heard she was sick. How's your little dog? I heard you received a new dog for your birthday. Hey, next month is your birthday. Are you planning anything? Any question that they would feel, this teacher knows something about me, or this teacher is interested in me. I know that teenagers, many times, you go with that question and they could just look at you and say, why do you care? Okay, that could happen. It doesn't really matter, because in the inside of their hearts and their brains, although they are putting this ugly face and maybe telling you, why do you care? In the inside, they are feeling that they are important to you. And that is the first step to have them eventually open to you or trying to set this growth mindset. So if they are really, I don't know, disrespectful or unpolite, etc., we have to breathe in, right? Have a lot of patience and continue doing so, because eventually they will open up. Eventually they might not put this ugly face, they might not be very nasty to you, and they will start connecting with you, so you can have then develop a growth mindset. So I had this specific student, 8th grade student, who interrupted my lessons, who told me, you know what, my friends and I, we have made all the other English teachers get out of the school, so you're going to be the next one. And very scary sentences she would say to me. And I shared a passion with her. She loved music, and I love music. And so she loved, at that time, she loved Justin Bieber. And so I started including a lot of Justin Bieber in my lessons, and she suddenly started connecting. Why? Because I would ask her maybe sometimes, or I would say, Trini, you know this song, you know this artist, and I would do things to make her feel important, and it worked. Until now, she follows me on Instagram. We talk once in a while, and we finally connected. So I forgot the name who made this question.
That was Claudia Albuco.
So Claudia, my piece of advice would be trying to connect. Once we connect with the students, we can start developing their growth mindset.
Right, great. And now we have another question by Javiera Rosso. How can we work with growth mindset with 4-5-year-old students?
Ooh, that's
I for believe, you too.
Yeah. I believe it's a bit easier. I mean, teenagers are challenging, very challenging. For me, well, actually, this is a personal opinion. For me, it's easier with younger children. With younger children, remember those 4 tips I gave on growth mindset? I would like to focus on them again. So motivate, peer support. If you believe they are not really working collaboratively very well yet, okay, let's set the example. So to my pre-kindergarteners or kindergarten or first grade, 4 or 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, I could say, okay, I even sometimes did it on purpose. Okay, guys, so here I have my scissors, and I'm going to cut with my scissors. Eso no es una scissor. Those are not scissors. Oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't concentrating. These are not scissors. This is my pen. I made a mistake, but it doesn't really matter because I learned the lesson. I'm going to call these scissors and I'm going to call this a pen. So you model, you act out what goes in the brain of someone who has a growth mindset, and they will see you, they will try to imitate you, and finally they will own the growth mindset as well.
Great. I think those that's it as far as questions go. And well, we'd like to thank everybody for actively participating in this session 1 of of our brain-based conference. And I'd like to invite everybody, remind you that we're having session 1 at 3:30. That's like in 15, 20 more minutes. And that's it, okay? So remember, you should follow the link to the second session, which is also in the Moodle app, online learning system. Okay, right? So hope to see you there in a few minutes. All right? Okay, see you
Thank
later,
you.
Francisca, right?
Yes, yes. So we have a short break. We can go take a cup of coffee, a cup of
Yes.
water, and we'll see you in 15 more minutes, everybody. Thank you so, so
Right.
much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.